This is the second half of the MyBlocks and Variables lesson where I include using a Gyro Straight stack. You may not have thought that using the MyBlocks and Variables made your life much easier when using them just for turns, but wait until you see their effect once you include a Gyro Straight. For this lesson, you can see I've already got several stacks set up. Under when program starts, I've already set up my movement motors and my movement speed. I've got a when left button is pressed event with the yaw angle set to 0 and a wait. And then from the last lesson, I have my blocks for the left and right turn also already set up and defined. And then finally, for this lesson, I have brought in from the simple line follower and gyro straight lesson, a simple gyro straight stack. And the link to that lesson will be included in the description if you need to go back and review the simple line follower and gyro straight. So to begin this, I'm going to make the simple gyro straight into a MyBlock by clicking on Make a Block and then naming this one Gyro Straight and hitting Save. I now have a gyro straight MyBlock, and I'm going to take the defined gyro straight stack header and attach it to my gyro straight stack. And now we're ready to start programming. I can't just bring in the gyro straight and expect the robot to do anything because the robot does not know how long or how far you want it to go. And so if I run the program just like this, my robot just starts to run in a circle. So I need to set up a time that I want the robot to run for. And to connect it to the timer, I need to come down to Control and bring in a repeat until block and put the gyro straight inside the repeat until. And now inside the hexagon, I'm going to set up a timer by coming down to operators, bringing in a greater than timer and setting it to 5 seconds. And then I'm going to come to sensors, and at the very bottom of the sensors, I have my timer settings, and I'm going to put a timer pill inside the greater than equation, and then I'm going to put a reset timer in right above the repeat block so that the timer begins right before it goes into the repeat. And then finally, I need to come back to my original movements, and I need to put a stop moving at the end of the block so that when the robot finishes going straight, it knows what you want to do. Without the stop moving, my robot will run straight for 5 seconds, and then as soon as it's done going straight for 5 seconds, it starts to circle. So the stop moving is important. To make this program a little more interesting and allow you to see some of the effects, I'm going to come down to the MyBlocks, and I'm going to add in a right turn. Now remember, the robot doesn't know how far you want it to turn unless you set a target angle. So I'm going to bring in a set target angle, and I'm going to set it to 85 so that the robot will turn to about 85 degrees, overshoot a bit, and hopefully stop right about 90. And then I want it to go straight one more time, so I'm just going to click here at Reset Timer, duplicate the whole program, and then just get rid of the target angle and turn at the bottom so that the robot will reset the timer and then go straight for another 5 seconds. But I actually want it to go a little longer so that you can see the effects of the gyro straight. What you will see is after the right turn, the robot turns back to the left until it reaches a heading of 0 degrees and begins going straight on that heading again, because that's the heading that gyro straight is programmed to run on. So I need to make some small changes to my robot so that my robot can run straight on any heading I want. And all I need to do to make that happen is to come back to my variables and select a target angle pill and replace the 0 heading in my gyro straight program with a target angle. And now the robot will go straight on whatever heading I set it on. This has the added bonus of correcting for the overshoot on the turns, because now I can set this to 90 and the robot will overshoot the 90 on the turn, but when it starts to run straight, it will correct back to 90 degrees to run straight. So watch how this works. Now that your robot can turn to any angle and move straight on any heading by using these MyBlocks and variables, There's one more thing you can do to really clean this program up. Right now in the program, in order to go straight, I need to reset the timer, set up this repeat, and put in the stop moving every time I go straight. But I can actually reset this so that the reset, the repeat, and the stop moving are all part of the Gyro Straight MyBlock. So when the robot goes into Gyro Straight, now the robot will reset the timer, run for a selected amount of time at straight, and stop moving all on this block. The only thing that's holding it back right now is that the timer is set at 5, and so the robot can only go straight for 5 seconds. But you can adjust that by creating a new variable. So I'm going to come back up to variables and click on make a variable, and I'm going to call this variable time. And so now I'm going to take this time pill and place it into the robot. And so now the robot will run straight as soon as I set up a time for how long I want it to run straight for. I want the robot to run on a target angle of 0 to go straight. And then I also am going to bring in another set, and I'm going to click on the pull down and change the time and tell the robot to go straight for 5 seconds. And now when I want the robot to turn, all I have to do is bring in a turn. And if I set the target angle for this turn to 90, the robot will turn to 90. And if I bring in another straight, the robot will run straight for 5 seconds, because as long as the time is set to 5 seconds, every time I bring in a straight, it'll run for 5 seconds. And if I want to change the time, I just have to bring in a new block, set it to time, and change the amount of time I want the robot to run for. For this example, maybe 3 seconds. Now let's go ahead and bring in a left turn. And again, I have to tell the robot how far I want it to turn. So let's have the robot turn back to the left, back to 0 degrees. And then I'm going to bring in one more gyro straight. And again, right now the robot would run straight for 3 seconds. But let's go ahead and change that time one more time. And we'll have the robot run for 4 seconds straight. I hope you can see that by using these MyBlocks and variables, it ultimately makes your programming quicker to make and the movement of your robot much more accurate. And I hope this will be very useful to you in your future programs.